Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the pre-searing Grail. I do this series on my ranger slash monk, but in all the previous episodes we were much more ranger and much less monk, so in this one I want to get in touch with my monkey side and we'll switch to a primarily monk build. We're gonna go and do everything our little tutorial has to offer, and we're gonna pray for good drops. I hope you'll enjoy. Okay, so I said monk build, but what did I mean exactly? So this is the skill bar that I intend to run with. As you can see, we're still keeping our pet. I love my pet, I want to keep using it, I'm still a ranger. Plus, we need our meat shield as a survivor, so the pet stays. But all the other skills are monk skills, so I can easily say this is a monk-based skill bar, let's say. So for our damage, we are keeping Bane Signet. We added Banish, which is like a primary monk damage dealing spell. I could compare it to Deathly Swarm, just without the AoE and less damage and longer cooldown. So it kinda sucks, but we can test it out in some places. We have the Bane Signet, Symbol of Wrath. It's like a very much weaker version of Rain of Fire. It deals much less damage with a much longer cooldown, sense a theme there. Plus, it hits foes adjacent to my initial location, so I cannot cast it far away. I have to stand in the middle of mobs to use it effectively. Next up, Healing Breeze and Horizon of Healing you already knew. It's my primary healing skills, I use them even in my ranger build. And next up we have Reversal of Fortune and Shielding Hands. Those two skills are the ones that I intend to use the most. I don't use them at all in my regular build, so I want to use them, get to know them, see where they shine. The most comments I get under my skills tier list is my low placing of those two skills, and I would like to use them in combat, actually see if they are as useful as I'm told. First thoughts, without even using them so far, quarter-second cast time sounds really great. So that's my initial thoughts. Let's see how they fare out in practice. So that's skills wrapped up. Let's move on to weapons, because I don't intend to use my bow. So let's talk about the bonus item for monks, and that's the Wolf's Favor, which is, in my opinion, the worst out of all the bonus items. Monks just keep taking the L in pre-searing. It requires 9 Divine Favor, which no monk in their right mind will ever go for in pre-searing. The attribute is just trash when you're mostly playing solo. And even if you went for it, it halves casting time of Healing Prayers and Protection Prayers. And well, in pre-searing, all the Protection Prayers available have a quarter-second cast time, and all the Healing Prayers have 1 second cast time, so having that is just not gonna help you at all. If it was a different attribute, if it was halves recharge time, not cast time, then maybe this item would have something, but no, it's just trash, it's just trash. Let's destroy it right away. So what else do I have? Well, in the previous episodes I got this fantastic pair of a wand and a shield. The wand gives 18% chance to have recharge time of smiting prayers and 3 energy while I'm hexed. So recharge time of smiting prayers would be really useful, because smiting prayers have a hell of a long cooldown. 10 seconds on Banish, 20 on Bane Signet, 30 on Symbol of Wrath. Having time would be a big time save. And this Skull Shield has +1 smiting prayers mod on it, also 18%. So these would be 2 fantastic items to test out, since, well, especially since I got them myself. But let's see if you can spot one issue with it. Time's up. It requires 1 Divine Favor, and without being a monk primary, I don't meet this requirement, which means that my damage is trash. This wand should deal 7 to 11 damage if I met the requirement. Well, I just hit this monster for a 12, but let's compare it to a water wand with 4 to 6 damage. Without any requirement, about half, a little over than half the damage of this wand, and I hit this LOE seed for 23 just because I met the requirement. So since the cooldowns for smiting spells are so high, I expect to be using my wand a lot, so I just cannot use this wand because I'll just noodle all the time, even though it seems so cool. I cannot use it, so we will be using instead the staff that I borrowed from my Necro. It has a trash 8% half cast time component for all the spells, but otherwise it's a decent staff. It has some hail, it has some fortitude, it has some energy, so this is the weapon that we will be rolling with. Maybe we'll get something better. And the last thing to discuss before we jump into some action is armor and attributes, because now I have some items that I use in my ranger build that are not too useful for the monks build. For example, these gloves that give me +1 expertise. Expertise lowers the energy cost of ranger skills, attack skills, touch skills and rituals, and nothing on my bar as well except maybe comfort animal will actually benefit from that, so this is kind of a dead attribute. So I got a new pair of gloves for this, and I already dyed it white because I need my fashion, just for a little bit more health, survivor and vitae, so we will see a little boost in our total health value. I could have went for energy, but I decided, you know, health is more important. And the helmet gives me marksmanship, and I don't plan to use my bow, so let's take it out. And I got a new mask with beast mastery actually, since as a primary ranger I cannot use any runes that monks can primary use, for example smiting prayers or healing prayers. I had to settle for something else, and probably the best choice would just be pure stats, but I refuse to let go of the mask's effect of doubling an attribute rune. So we went with Beast Mastery. Our bear will be very happy, and I always wanted to use a Beast Mastery rune, so yeah, we're getting a +2. So with these upgrades done, what are our attributes looking like? I decided to keep 8 healing prayers. That's a nice breakpoint. There's no point in going higher. I would have to go up to 10 to see an increase, so let's stick with 8. 12 smiting prayers, that's the cap for me since I cannot use any runes. 6 protection prayers, I just dumped my remaining points here, together with Beast Mastery. I could put a lot less points into Beast Mastery, but to be honest, I feel like 6 points into protection prayers is well enough. The effects of Reversal of Fortune and Shielding Hands are already pretty strong at this point, so this is what I'm gonna stay at. Shielding Hands reduces all damage by 9, which probably everywhere but Northlands makes me invincible. And Reversal of Fortune, 41. I think only char bosses can hit higher, well, not counting Vanguard quests, so I think we're very good on the protection prayers front. And after what feels like 8 minutes of talking, let's go into the Northlands. Okay, I made it to the altar, and I'm gonna try to fight and commentate, although it usually doesn't end well. Initial thoughts, this is extremely slow compared to my usual norm. If I'm not using Symbol of Wrath and just standing inside monsters, then the fights take so long, and if I am, and I don't have Shielding Hands, for example, if they have Chaos in their group, and they break my Shielding Hands, then I get so much damage. I'm really scared doing this on my Survivor. So the Monk experience so far during my first run is extremely group dependent. By group dependent, I mean what the composition of the char group is. If they have a shaman, then the fight takes extremely long. If they have 2 shamans, then it's oh my god. And if they have chaos, that sucks the most for now. If the group doesn't have chaos and I can keep Shielding Hands on with 9 damage protection, I feel invincible. There's also something really funny that I noticed before, and I never noticed previously while playing on a ranger. See, when I killed this boss, my cooldowns reset, and well, yeah, that's a thing that happens in Guild Wars when you kill a boss, but when you play a ranger, the cooldowns in Pre-Searing are so small, I just never noticed it in all these years, but Monk cooldowns are so gigantic that, today I learned. After 2 char runs with no drops, it was time to move on to the daily quest of the day, which was Countess Nadia. And since I downscale my dailies with a level 10 alt, it was quite easy to do. I got into the groove of just walking up to the Vanguard monsters and casting my Symbol of Wrath and they would just die. Without any mesmers, I could easily keep up shielding hands on myself and it was very easy. The only slight downside was just the long cooldowns, they just keep slowing me down. And that was until I got to the actual boss. Level 10 downscaled Countess Nadia just wrecked my shit. I didn't die, but she would hit me with constant hundreds from backfire, and since I had to cast so many spells, and spells were my main protection, I couldn't really protect myself without getting heavily punished for it, so yeah, I panicked a little bit there, got the kill, but panicked heavily. It's finally time for what we've all been waiting for, a daily quest in the Catacombs. Time to save the Ascalonian noble, and after that there will be Vanguard Annihilation for Undead. So 2 quests in the Catacombs back to back. And that's pretty exciting because all holy damage against Undead will be doubled. So this is finally Monk's skills time to shine. With one small caveat, the mesmers, the undead mesmers that are here cast Imagined Burden, so my strategy will change a little. I will not walk up to monsters to cast Symbol of Wrath because walking up will take forever with the Imagined Burden on. What I will do instead is try to fight them ranged using my spells from the distance, and if the melee if the melee skeletons come to me, then I will Symbol of Wrath. That should be a pretty decent strategy. Oh yes, now the damage feels like it used to, and with the added defensive options, Catacombs is definitely the one place pre-searing monks have it good. We just got a slice of pumpkin pie and some hard apple cider. I didn't even realize that the special treats we got started. While not fighting the undead though, the monk skills are still pretty trash though. I mean look, I'm gonna banish this gargoyle for 49 and my pet's gonna go and deal more damage. As I said at the start, one of the reasons why I decided to switch to using monk skills for a bit is to learn how to cover my enchantments properly. And I did a little bit of research on Google, and in Guild Wars it works like this. The last enchantment you cast will be the one that is removed first. So for example, if I cast Healing Breeze first and then cast Reversal of Fortune, the Reversal of Fortune will be shattered first. So that's how you cover an enchantment. There is a small caveat where maintainment enchantments are shattered last no matter what. So for example, if I cast Healing Breeze first and then I cast Retribution, Healing Breeze will still be removed first because Retribution is a maintained enchantment. So I went ahead and did a little bit of testing. I killed a group of Char, just left one Char Chaot. And yeah, in my testing, it turns out that this is correct. Healing Breeze generally was covered by Reversal of Fortune or by Shielding Hands. Everything worked fine until it didn't. Turns out sometimes the Char Chaots don't cast Shatter Hex first. They cast Shatter Enchantment rather. They cast, for example, Energy Burn, and Energy Burn will deal damage to me. So if I cast Healing Breeze and then I cast Reversal of Fortune, Energy Burn will remove Reversal of Fortune, and then they can instantly cast Shatter Enchantment because it's not on cooldown, and I'm down to enchantment. So it's not perfect. It's still a worthwhile thing to learn. It's still, in my opinion, a worthwhile thing to use, but in my bow build, I probably will not be bothered to do that, because if it's not a 100% guarantee to cover my Healing Breeze, then I don't see much of a point. Another point is, if a Char group has 2 Chaots, then all of your enchantment will just get removed so quick. So yeah, that is a little bit of theory, a little bit of practice. When I moved on to bigger Char groups, that proved true as well. Sometimes I would get hit with like Banish Signet first, not Banish Signet, Bane Signet, and then hit with the removal, so it's not a perfect solution. Another thing that I wanted to get into was Farmer Hamnet bandit farming, and it actually wasn't so bad compared to how the ranger with a bow usually does. I mean, it's all extremely slow compared to Mesmers and Elementalists. That is, if there were 2 melee monsters. You see, the speed seemed to be extremely spawn dependent, and if I got 2 melee opponents, the Symbol of Wrath would take them down in one rotation and it was all good. And as far as the defensive capabilities of the monk go, you have a personal pocket healing monk there, so you don't really gain too much from that. But if there was a mixed spawn or a double elementalist spawn, then it was kinda hard to do it. I mean, after some runs, I kinda got dealing with the mixed spawn. You can't use Symbol of Wrath on the Melier. You have to wait until he casts Frenzy, and then you use Bane Signet and Banish and auto-attack it to death. And then you use Symbol of Wrath and try to finish out the Elementalist. But since the Elementalists have Aura of Restoration, you generally didn't have enough damage compared to how much they were healing to quickly get rid of it. And there was a lot of waiting with how low the monk's damage was. And if the spawn was 2 Elementalists, then I needed 2 full rotations of Symbol of Wrath, so that's like over 30 seconds of wait time. Even if I got them both standing next to each other and I Symbol of Wrath, I could only keep DPSing one of them after that, and the other one just healed up to full from Aura of Restoration. So extremely spawn dependent. Not extremely bad DPS compared to bow, but the wait time is what kills it here. I think you can see the pattern in every single activity we do. Damage is low, wait time is high, and the defensive capabilities, while nice, are not exactly the most important thing. And you might have noticed that there is one skill we didn't talk about, and that is Retribution. I mentioned it in passing when it comes to enchantment covering, but otherwise I didn't, and the reason is it really sucks in pre-searing. One good thing that I just noticed recording this clip is that if you do Shielding Hands, the monsters still get damage, so that is a pretty cool effect. But otherwise, what Retribution does is it thorns back, it deals back the damage, 33% of the damage that you would be dealt back to the source, with the maximum amount of damage increasing with your smiting attribute. If this effect, the percentage, would increase with smiting, then this might have been decent, and it might be decent for warrior monks. I cannot experience that. I don't have a warrior monk, so maybe it's good, but otherwise the damage that monsters deal is too little for the returned damage to mean anything. I tested this on Vanguard Bandits and they were getting back like 8 damage per hit, which is like non-existent pretty much. And Chars will just shatter this, so the only upside to this skill that I can mention is that it's probably one of the coolest icons in all of the pre-searing. And that will be it for the video today. We did every single pre-searing activity with a primarily monk build, and I'm sure you can see the verdict coming. They are not too great. In my opinion, monks are by far the weakest pre-searing profession, with their main attribute, Divine Favor, being the weakest attribute out of them all. Their skills are held back with their extremely high cooldowns and very low damage, and the only area where they shine is their defensive capabilities, which in my opinion makes them one of the best choices for a secondary profession, but not for the primary. If you take a monk build to char farming or vanguard quests, they are held back by their low damage and high cooldowns, and if you try to do nick farming with them, their single target damage sucks, and the only farms they can actually do quite good is Scale by Fortrunnic or Bandits here near Ashford, and even then they are just weaker versions of Elementalists, so I'm glad I tested it out. I have a little bit more knowledge about monk skills, especially about enchant covering. But as I said before, I would much rather stick to them being a secondary profession and just supporting my primarily ranger build. And I think that everyone that plays a primary monk in pre-searing is a special kind of psycho. Go monks! You know, I'm really proud of you for sticking through it. Other professions have it just so much better. And with that being said, thank you everyone for watching. We didn't get any new thing in our spreadsheet for the Grail, so that's the first episode this happened. I got a bunch of purples during char runs, but they were all duplicates, so maybe next time. So hopefully you had a wonderful day, hopefully you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one in my normal green build this time. Goodbye.